Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it is Wednesday. We're having an okay week. So I forgot we had PPI coming through here. So U.S. core PPI month over month 0% versus the expected spot 2. We also got retail sales spot 5 versus spot 4. How come there we go, was not opening up my thing? We'll come over here. Let's see here. Oh, hey, the data is still connected. Well, ain't that a thing? So on the initial news, and you know, I was already prepared to say this because my news squawk was complaining about Financial Juice was like, well, we had all this news come out. Treasuries haven't changed at all. Yeah, isn't it interesting? We're just getting... Oh, by the way, we need to turn on the music. There we go. There's just been so much happening lately. Like, it's really... It makes me feel exhausted to think about the number of political and geopolitical happenings, and we're still in this situation where we had a government shutdown, and so some of our data is catching up and stuff. And so you would think that now that we're getting data like the PPI and the retail sales, that the treasuries would be really anxious to move and reprice based off of that. And it's not doing anything, man. Isn't that crazy? It's a little crazy. So yeah. I don't know what to think. But from my own perspective, none of these numbers make me go like, oh man, this completely changes my outlook. A lot of it, like the funny thing is with the inflation data, I'm kind of like, oh, what do you know? There's still no inflation. But then the guys on the other side of this that are like, we still need to be concerned about inflation, they're saying, well, except for that we still don't have October housing data, so that biases the data. I guess you're right. We'll just wait for that to drop off. No, still, yeah, I don't think that I get it until Friday. Maybe tomorrow, but I think that I don't get it until Friday. Because it's like 5 business days, so... And we deposited on Thursday, so... It really sucks because there is so much insight that we gain from... I mean, I could put my custom indicators on here and everything. I guess I'm just too lazy. Why am I so lazy? Speculators.com. Free downloads? Whoa, wait, you mean this guy? Wait. Let's go back here. He's got all this just shit, inventory cost basis, which tells me basically where the market makers, average positions may be. all of these things that tell me about level 2 and everything, and then advanced spread charts, the synthetic dollar index, and volatility numbers and stuff, like all this stuff. And I can just go and download it for free and try it for 2 weeks? Are you kidding me? This guy, who is this speculator Seth guy? He is really crazy. Nobody else in the industry does that. That's crazy. Okay, well, let's download his stuff. And then where does it go to? Open folder. Okay, it goes into downloads. And we can close that. And close that. Imports. Ninja script add-on. I know I clicked the button. Why is the import not coming up? There we go. Open. Yeah, don't show me that message. Cool. So what should we add it to? Well, like, first of all, let's add it to... Oh, I get both that and the free. Oh, no. Oh. That's interesting. I should change that. Anyways. What is it called? Cash projected range. Yeah, let's add that one. That's kind of useful, don't you think? I find it kind of useful. 3.84% is the volatility. Why is the sales pitch worst sales pitch ever? Oh, come on, guys. Seriously? How is okay, but really, how is volatility 3.84? What? That can't be right. Here, let's double check it. Let's just double check here. I mean, I think that it's working correctly and everything, but let's just double check. Implied volatility 3.84. Why is treasury volatility so pickin' low? This is really weird. I think I'm missing something. Well, anyways, let's come back over here and let us also add from over here. Let's add our spread ZNZB. Do I care about the knob spread the most? Yeah, let's focus on the knob spread. Okay. And just leave it as a line. There. I feel better already. Like we're getting January PPI, retail sales today, and treasury volatility is 3.84. What is going on? You know what else? There was another thing that I read about this morning. I didn't read the story, but I read about the story. That the Wall Street Journal, was it the Wall Street Journal? It was the Wall Street Journal. Had a story basically saying that the United States has stopped or stymied all of China's attempted inroads to South America.
and that China couldn't really do anything about it. And so now China is thinking, well, okay, maybe we tell them, yeah, that's right. You should get South America, but we get the Taiwan Strait. Which I don't know if that means that they get Taiwan or if it's just the waters between China and Taiwan. Because there's this whole dispute about that whole area of water that China says that it belongs to them. And I really don't think we should let them have it just because, China has not been very friendly to the environment. But I digress. And the story speculated that one of the sweeteners that they could provide to get the United States to go along with it is to buy treasuries. China came in and bought up the treasuries again to the amounts that they had before. That would really help. That's actually that's actually a pretty good plan. I think Donnie would go for that. Better. I really need to work on my sales pitch, man. You know what I think? I think that rather than having a good sales pitch, that I should just have a really good product. Should just have a really good product and then the product should sell itself. But it doesn't actually work that way from my experience. So I guess I do need to get a better sales pitch. You know what it is? Why the volatility is so low? It's because I don't have data. I'm the axe. They're like, well, if Seth doesn't care enough to take any trades. So, we didn't really go through the chart, like the longer term charts. But I do think I should point out that the S&P 500 did not have the best day yesterday. So the treasuries ended slightly up. We're like near yesterday's highs. So maybe the reason that we didn't move very much is because this is still in line with inflation's not such a big deal, but actually sales were even better than we expected. I kind of am a little bit skeptical of the sales numbers just because that information doesn't necessarily tell me who is buying all the stuff. It kind of seems to me like the upper middle class are doing well and the middle class is just getting absolutely savaged. I read this study yesterday. It said that the reason that the middle class is declining is because more of them are moving into the upper middle class. The upper middle class has gotten bigger. Well, interesting. Anyways, we'll come into the S&P 500. And then, it's the one down there. Sure, I didn't need to change that. Seth. Change that back. They were down on the day, and then they are set to open at yesterday's low.
So that's kind of curious. The S&P may be shifting into a period of, like a down period, which would maybe inject some life into the treasuries over here, huh? Well, one thing that I do kind of wonder is, like, when we come out to this larger, when we can really see, volatility has kind of been low for a while, but really, like, through this, like, once we came down into this range. So maybe the treasuries are just telling us that, like, this is as low as it can get right now. We'll come to oil, because oil is on a tear. And in fact, I think I want to be a buyer of oil right now, because not only did they have, I forget even what it was, the headline yesterday that kind of pushed them up, and then there were kind of some more headlines overnight pushing us up, which I'm not entirely sure which ones they are, but I think that this one might be related to Iran. By the way, there was another story that, while there's not really anybody, the State Department said everybody in Iran get out, but, like, are there any Americans in Iran? Who would go to Iran right now as an American, after they, like, kidnapped them and all this crazy stuff. So, but then they also were telling people at nearby Air Force Base in Iraq, I think it was, to leave by Wednesday. So it does indeed sound like there's a very high probability that the U.S. will be conducting some sort of strike tonight and tomorrow, within the next day. So that's probably why oil is up. And because oil is up so much, the CTAs are essentially forced to buy it. So that could have some legs. Okay. Gold. Man, gold. Woo. Okay, well, they're just holding the gains that they had. We were supposed to sell this week. And it's up. Because the issue is, especially as it pertains to silver, let's pull that one up over here. Silver's really, really up. There's still not enough silver at the exchange. So the price is going to keep going. So, I think that there's kind of this thing that, like, okay, well, like, we can minimize it. Oh, actually, really quick, let's pull up Bitcoin. Bitcoin getting a boost here as well, which is also in line with what I was just about to say. So, you ever heard this argument that, like, the treasury market is the smartest market? So, like, if two markets disagree, which one do you trust? You go for the treasuries. Well, that kind of sounds suspiciously to me like a market efficiency argument. That, like, the market isn't perfectly efficient, but maybe the treasury market is more efficient than other markets, which from a statistical perspective is actually true from my experience. But from an informational perspective, like, does the current price reflect all available information? Absolutely no. The treasury market can be driven just by people buying and selling that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on. If China decides that they want to own treasuries or not own treasuries, that does not reflect an opinion on what the Federal Reserve is going to set interest rates to. That's a geopolitical thing, right? So the treasury market is not even remotely informationally efficient, and maybe even more informationally inefficient than other instruments. Isn't that kind of weird? So it's more statistically efficient than other instruments, but it's more informationally inefficient than other instruments too. Huh. Okay. So then is this thing that like what do we do when there is a disagreement between the treasuries and the equities? If we accept that markets are just not informationally efficient. Well, I say that you go with the treasuries. Not because the treasuries know more, but because eventually the treasuries will pull the other markets with it. Do you get what I mean? Like if interest rates are high, companies can't take out debt, they can't hire people, people can't buy houses. It has an aggregate effect on the economy, right? So eventually the treasury market will drag the rest of the market with it. So it's not that one is more informationally efficient. It's that the treasury market is just really powerful. And so I think that that's what we might see happen. Except for that, like, the treasury market is dead. They don't want to do anything right now. They're like, yeah, they're going to cut 2 times this year, and nobody seems to disagree. Except for that, like, how can they cut 2 times this year and the economy also be super, super great? That one doesn't make sense. Nah, I think that you should expect to see the economy slow down. It'd probably still be an expansion. It's still good because last year's growth was actually really good, surprisingly. But it'll probably be a little bit less, and we'll continue to see strain in the job market, which makes me very, very sad because I was unemployed for, well, I don't want to call it unemployed for a year. Like, I like to, because we did contract work and other things, but, you know, I had a 1-year job search, let's say. Yeah, let's put it that way. I was on the search for a year, and it was hell. And I feel a great deal of empathy for anybody that is out there in this market trying to find their way, because it's hard, and it doesn't look like there's any relief on the horizon. The rest of us probably go on okay, just kind of okay, but there's a lot of turmoil under the surface. That seems like where we're headed for the next year. I wonder, will the treasury volatility stay this low? Or are we about to get like another quant crunch? Because with volatility being that low, I really kind of have to wonder if that doesn't like blow up in our faces at some point. Because if it stays low the whole year, that's going to really suck. That's going to really suck. Well, I don't know if we have... Oh, actually, you know what? There was a story I wanted to read. What was it? Anything less than U.S. control of Greenland is unacceptable. Trump as ministers hosted at White House. Okay, you know what? If you know, don't answer. If you don't know, don't look up the answer. And you guys tell me in chat, how many people do you think live in Greenland? How many people do you think? You're all going to be too afraid to say anything, huh? I'll just wait. By default says 1 million. 1 million. That's a good guess. So I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I think that like the greater Salt Lake metropolitan area, let's see here. Greater Salt Lake metropolitan area population. I think it's over 1 million. 1.3 million people. 1.3 million people. That's how many people live in Salt Lake. Perfro says 30. Rocks Neutrino says 35. Well, those estimates are closer. Those estimates are closer. It's basically like 50 to 60,000 people. Can you believe that? Like, actually think about, like, whoa, wait, I'll pull up a map. Oh man, I really have to I have to really make it big for it to even show all of the cities. Okay. So there's a bunch of cities, or all of these places I've never heard of before, all kind of on the sea. Oh wow, there's actually a lot. So like basically all of those like supposed cities that we see on there are actually like basically villages. There's basically villages and like one small city. Yes, actually, Greenland is tiny. It is truly tiny. You know what? This is still... I thought that Google Earth didn't have the Merkur projection thing, but it's not that big. But apparently they do. We need to turn it into a globe. Probably there's a way to do it, but I don't know how to do it. We've already had an Air Force base there forever, yeah. But I totally understand why Donald Trump wants it. I mean, there is this, when he talks about we want Greenland, for instance, right? That immediately triggers everybody's, oh, he must be Mustache Man. The second coming of Mustache Man. He needs to go and take over other territories so that there's more room for the fatherland, or like that's what everybody's thinking. And you know what? I wouldn't put it past that maybe Donald Trump thinks like that. Not that Donald Trump is like, we need more room for white people or something like that. No, that's ridiculous. But just like, hey, if we can make the United States bigger and cooler and more, like, that's great. I think it would probably look really good for me to be like the first person to like add major US territories since ever. Right? But I don't think that's what it is in this case. I think that they're looking at, oh man, we need a globe. Wait, how do you change Google Earth globe? Maybe you need to go to earth.google.com. Yeah, hold on a second. This is probably going to make me upgrade or something. Oh wait, what's this? Yeah, Explore Earth. Wow, you can like buy different plans. Okay. Layers. Can I remove layers? 0 layers. Show historical imagery. Yeah. Measure distance. Studies. View. I want the clouds to go away. I don't need the clouds. Go away with the clouds. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. This is what... Oh, okay. Okay. So. No. Don't do that. Maybe I just need to make it big. Maybe I just make it full screen. I go away. Okay, so here's the United States. Here is China and Russia. And here's Greenland. So Greenland is basically, well, Canada, but then Greenland is basically, because you think about Russia, right? And you're like, well, the closest thing in the United States to Russia is Kansas. Well, yeah, except for that basically everything in Russia, like all of the population, is over here. So actually, Greenland is closer. And if you needed to have something like there to intercept hypersonic missiles, as an example, because you get this thing, they come up and they go over here, and they're going to go over Greenland, and then they come back down in here. And because they're so fast, by the time you detect them, they're basically like all the way already over here. And then how do you intercept them? But if you have stuff in Greenland, then you would be able to detect it sooner, and you would be able to shoot them down sooner. And we need rare earth minerals basically to build everything that is military right now. Like all of our military things require rare earth minerals. So, yeah, it actually makes a lot of strategic sense that the United States wants Greenland. That makes a lot of sense. And there's only like 60,000 people there. So like this idea that like, well, we could pay everybody $100,000 or something like that. That's like actually a realistic proposal. We spend so much money on so many other things. It's wild that we could literally bribe everybody in Greenland to join the United States and all this. But the head of Greenland says, no, we'd rather stay with the Danish. Yeah, I think that eventually, this is another one of those things where I say, like, I think it's going to happen. I don't know if Donald Trump is going to be able to do it, but I think it makes so much strategic sense that one way or another, the United States is going to get it. And the EU is right now is like, well, let's, make a deal, and we want to keep. Well, yeah, because they want the rare earth minerals too. But I really don't think that that's going to placate the United States. And don't be surprised if, it'll be really funny and bizarre, and maybe, I wonder how much of an effect this sort of thing has, where it's like in politics. You get a Democrat president in, and the Democrat president realizes, oh man, it is really vital to the safety of the United States that we acquire Greenland. But I can't actually say that or do anything about it because Donald Trump tried to get Greenland. So I'm not going to say anything. That kind of thing happen? I don't know. You cannot intercept to track hypersonic weapons? Well, you don't know what they can or cannot do. Did you know a week ago that the U.S. military has directed microwave weapons and basically like microwave super soldier battalions that can descend upon a foreign country's leadership palace fortress and just completely disable everybody there and run off with their leader? Yeah, because I certainly didn't, and I've been obsessed with like the Havana syndrome and all that. I'm not obsessed, but we've talked about it a lot, right? We have no clue what the United States military is truly capable of. If there was like a real war, like, I don't know, China and Russia decided to invade Alaska or something crazy like that, right? Like something that's just like not practical to happen. But if it did, I think that we would be absolutely bewildered by some of the capabilities that the U.S. military has and the capabilities that the U.S. military could get if they were properly incentivized by a real war like the likes of World War II. At the end of the day, it's all just math and physics. Yes. And this is, it's one of those things where it's like conspiracy theory. People talk about this all the time. And so you don't talk about it, but it's absolutely true. There is science that people stumble upon, and then they get visited by the US government and are told to keep it under wraps. There is. So we have some math and physics that we think gives the United States a huge strategic advantage that is hidden from the public. And you can kind of see how the military like almost prepares the public to be able to know like what's like when the new set of technology comes out, and then they're like, okay, we can let the public know about this stuff, and then eventually it can go out into civilian use. Because, probably the directed microwave device thing has probably been a thing for a while. And, it was like we just kind of slowly found out about it. Like, there's an LRAD. It's a thing. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. Okay. I want to read that story too, actually, but that's not the one. Yeah. U.S. retail sales shrugs off K-shaped economy with upside surprise. I guess we need to read these ones too. We've got a bunch of reading. We might just be reading until the top of the hour. U.S. military opens new air defense coordination cell in Qatar, which seems to match up with we're going to attack Iran, except for that's probably wouldn't be up before we attacked Iran, so I don't know. Cancun drowns in seaweed. Oh, that's interesting. Where going to the gym is the most unpopular. That's okay. I think that the story that I wanted to read was Trump put fades as political capital drains. Michael Ball, Bloomberg macro strategist. You can find 20-year-old videos of people turning microwaves into EMP weapons. So yeah, it's been around a long time, actually. Yeah. Well, but I mean, I think that the difference is that I think that the key, like, innovation that has happened is that they have found really efficient ways to make them directed so that you can put it into a small device that you carry around. Okay. As Congress and the courts push back the assumption that Trump can carry risk sentiment higher into the U.S. midterm elections in November looks less certain. That raises the odds the buy-the-dip reflex that has defined President Trump's second term won't play out like it did last year. Trump has clear policy drivers, affordability and national security, which have increasingly been driving the market narrative. If the room for executive orders runs out and congressional action is needed, the policy pulse becomes less predictable and markets warrant a higher vol premium. The pressure campaign on Chairman Jerome Powell isn't just a rates story, it's a political capital being spent in the most expensive place possible against an institution that has deep support inside Washington. Yeah, I agree. I think in this instance, like, when it comes to the interest rates, Donald Trump has always been correct. The Federal Reserve probably should have cut last May. And if he had just kept his mouth shut, if Donald Trump had just not said anything, maybe Powell would have cut in May. I really think that like Donald Trump has Jerome Powell like super triggered and afraid, because when they he had like a video ready to go and all this stuff. It's a real, he doesn't like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's coming after him, and so it's causing him to do things against Donald Trump. Granted, he made some rate decisions before that I think are kind of questionable, and one could make the argument that it's because he doesn't like Donald Trump, or that there's political considerations. Although in that particular, like the earlier mistakes that the Federal Reserve made, like the one before COVID and the one during COVID and the one after COVID, like Jerome Powell has made 3, maybe you could even consider before that a 4th one. The Federal Reserve's performance under Powell's tenure has been poor. It really has. But maybe Trump is, again, spending his political capital in like the worst place, trying to upend the Federal Reserve. Powell's statement that the Department of Justice grand jury subpoenas are political, and his vow to defend himself in the institution's independence, have already caused notable backlash from key GOP senators and even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And the initial market reaction indicated an uncertainty that any of this will lead anywhere, as highlighted by my colleague Ed Harrison. You know what? Like this thing is kind of getting to me too, because yeah, I feel like it's political, but the overrun for the renovation of the Federal Reserve, it does not have a justifiable explanation. It was supposed to be, you know, just a small renovation of the basement, a few $100,000, and it's turned into like this multi-million-dollar super project. And then they're like slow walking, giving information about why. I think it's totally appropriate in that situation to pursue it, but we'll see. Maybe they have a good, maybe Powell does win in court still. It's a very high chance that he still wins in court. When Republicans defect on core priorities and judges keep hitting pause, policy goals look less assured and market scripts can flip quickly. The reaction to the move towards Powell is just the latest and most high-profile example. The Senate's 52-47 vote to advance Tim Kaine's Venezuela War Powers resolution, with 5 Republicans joining Democrats, was the cleanest tell yet that even a GOP Congress is starting to see the need to enact guardrails on the Trump administration. The Senate also moved to display the January 6th police plaque, another reminder that the congressional agenda isn't fully controllable. The House also passed a 3-year extension of ACA premium subsidies, with 17 Republicans breaking ranks and Trump threatening to veto a bill supporting healthcare affordability. The courts are reinforcing that restraint. A federal judge blocked most of Trump's election executive orders against a vote-by-mail states for Oregon and Washington. The administration was compelled to fund the CFPB under court order, and another judge blocked grant terminations. Risk appellate has started 2026 hot, and that has been reinforced by growth stocks repricing higher, as well as a sharp rally in cyclicals and small caps. But if Trump is entering a lame duck phase earlier than investors assumed, the upside narrative into midterms becomes less certain. I don't know how I feel about that one, because like we just have a lame duck government, and we've had a lame duck government for like two decades now. Anyways, what's left are the more negative parts of policy, which eventually will weigh on risk appetite, affordability pressure on banks and housing, national security framing that lifts geopolitical uncertainty, and a higher likelihood of another protracted government shutdown at the end of January put the all things risk rally in doubt. I'm really concerned about a government shutdown at the end of January, because the first government shutdown, I think, did a lot of damage. It definitely chilled hiring at the time. It definitely did some damage in terms of the market being able to see what's going on. I'm really concerned about what comes from another government shutdown for sure. Retail sales shrugs off K-shaped economy with upside surprise in November. And Steffa, welcome to the stream. All right, anyways, it's funny, I saw that out of the corner of my eye and immediately like, oh yes, we love him. Thanks for joining. Having noted yesterday that holiday retail spending was up significantly via NRF, today we get the official Census Bureau look. But amid the growing specter of the K-shaped economy, expectations were for a sizable 0.5 month-over-month jump in retail sales, but the headline print beat expectations with a 6 month-over-month surge, leaving sales up 3.3% year-over-year. That was the strongest month-over-month jump in retail sales since July. Additionally, ex-autos and gas also beat the expectations. 10 out of 13 categories posted increases, including sporting goods, hobby stores, as well as building material retailers and clothing outlets. Motor vehicle sales bounced back after the expiration of the federal tax incentives on electric cars restrained sales in the prior month. Higher receipts at gasoline stations also contributed to the overall gain. That's funny, higher receipts at gasoline stations, even though the price of gas has gone down. We're back below 3. 3 is always kind of the line for me. Psychological line, because I remember during the Bush administration when it first went over 3. Real retail sales remain positive on a year-over-year basis. Finally, things look better for the broad economy as retail sales control group, which excludes food services, auto detailers, building material stores, and gasoline stores, which feeds into the GDP calculation, jumped spot 4% in line with expectations. That month-over-month jump leaves sales up a strong 5.1% year-over-year, while the K-shaped economy continues to weigh on market sentiment. It is not evident in the aggregate data and supports solid Q4 GDP growth. The figures may have gotten an extra boost from federal workers who recouped lost wages from the government shutdown. And then we got U.S. producer prices come in hot on heels of mysterious energy cost surge. U.S. wholesale inflation picked up slightly in November from a month earlier on a jump in energy costs, even as prices for services were unchanged. The producer price index rose spot 2% after climbing spot 1% in the month prior, according to much heralded BLS. The index for final demand goods advanced 0.9% in November, the largest rise since moving up 0.9% in February. Over 80% of the November increase can be traced to prices for final demand energy, which jumped 4.6%. The index for final demand goods, less foods and energy, advanced 0.2%, while prices for final demand foods were unchanged. I'm just going to scroll down because this is a really, really long one. Economists and investors closely track the PPI because several of its components feed into the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index. Among those categories, portfolio management fees advanced 1.4%, while cost of airline passenger services fell 2.6%. The costs of physician care and hospital inpatient care rose slightly, while hospital outpatient care saw a bigger increase. However, we are still not quite sure where the prices surge seen in PPI data is coming from, as oil prices were still plummeting when this data was created. Still, the lack of a PhD on our side means we are surely too dumb to comprehend this divergence. It is actually a little bit weird that the energy costs, while maybe it is an AI thing. Interesting. Newsom scrambles to keep billionaires in California and vows to kill wealth tax. After a swath of billionaires publicly announced they are leaving the state of California over a proposed wealth tax, Governor Gavin Newsom went into a full-blown panic, vowing to stop the proposed tax and do what I have to do to protect the state. In an interview with the New York Times, Newsom said that he has been working relentlessly behind the scenes to kill the proposal. This will be defeated, there's no question in my mind, he said, of the measure he's long opposed over concerns that it would stifle innovation in the state. As a growing list of tech CEOs have thrown their hands in the air and rage quit the state over mounting plans to separate them from their wealth. The plan in question, being driven by the SIEU, United Healthcare Workers Union vote, would require Californians with a net worth north of $1 billion to pay a one-time tax equal to 5% of their assets, and would apply retroactively to anyone who was living in the state as of January 1st. Affected taxpayers could spread their payments across 5 years beginning in 2027. According to the union, the tax is necessary to make up for deep cuts to healthcare signed into law last year by Trump, which include reductions in Medicaid, ACA subsidies, and food subsidies. The union is demanding that California spend 90% of the new tax money on healthcare, with the rest of it on food assistance and education. The union's chief of staff, Suzanne Jimenez, told the Times the governor is focused on the wrong problem here, adding the problem is not just about the preferences of 200 ultra-wealthy individuals. The problem is millions will lose healthcare, and it's really the problem that we're trying to solve. Yeah, so fix the healthcare system. Don't destroy the very thing that's bringing you the wealth in the first place. Bill Ackman, California is on a path to self-destruction. Hollywood is already toast, and now the most productive entrepreneurs will leave, taking their tax revenues and job creation elsewhere. Yes. Here's a question. Where do you think that the next big billion-dollar company like Apple comes from? Will it originate in California? It's becoming less likely now. Supporters of the tax have begun collecting the nearly 900. Oh, so they don't even have the measure on the ballot? Well, huh. Interesting. Well, I said, hey, maybe we'll be reading until the end of the stream, but guess what? That only took us 30 minutes to read all that. We'll come in and refresh and see if there's anything new there. The case for nuclear explained. Okay, so let's respond to this guy on Reddit. He says, I think influencers and course sellers have been extremely dangerous for new upcoming day traders and highly advise most new traders to avoid them. Yes, I agree, but let's see what he has to say about it. Sure, if you want to learn about candlesticks and some strategies and patterns, some YouTubers have solid advice, but all of the influencers selling courses, etc. are usually shitty traders trying to scam you. My advice would be to find a strategy. It can be a common back-tested one or one that you have come up with using real data, and stick with it. Do not run with 90% of the strategies influencers claim will dramatically increase your count. Been seeing so many ads on Instagram promoting this stuff, and clearly they are stood with rental Lambos and is just exploiting people. Just my 2 cents, please. Feel free to share your experiences and opinions. So, yeah, it's, and I said to him, you're so close, it's painful. Because the problem isn't that YouTubers just have terrible advice. It's that you're never going to have success with any kind of a strategy like that. So this guy has figured out that what the YouTubers say usually doesn't work, but he hasn't figured out that strategies of that nature on a day trading basis don't work. Let's tell him that. Oh, here we go with they're starting out selling again. Where are the DOMs? No, I still use them. We just have had a disruption in data, so I don't think that we'll be getting order flow data until Friday. Not that it matters, because treasury volatility is so insanely low, it just doesn't seem to be worth trading right now. But why is it low? Isn't New Year's vacation over? You totally, Omar, you're totally right. Yeah, in the treasuries, this is usually one of the best times of year for trading. For it to be this low in January is really quite odd. The market has gone into this mode that they are all convinced that they don't need to do anything, basically. I'm very I really don't like it when this happens. If you can't tell, I really hate it when treasury volatility gets low. Because not only does that make it harder for us to trade, but it also tends to result in a really nasty really nasty market moves, like the quant crunch of 2019, I think it was. It's like everybody was selling volatility, and then all of the sudden there was a breakout in volatility, and all of those people that were selling volatility had to puke, and so that exacerbated volatility even more, which caused all of the robots out there to just turn off, and liquidity completely disappeared. And any of the algorithms that kept trading got destroyed. So that we got the quant, we call it the quant crunch, because so many of these quantitative trading firms went out of business after that. And so you got one of two things can happen from here. One is volatility continues to be low, which means really tight trading for us. We might be able to do some strategies that helps us pick up a tick or two here, but we're not going to make as much as we would in a more volatile year. It's either that or eventually this all blows up. And just based on the sentiment that I'm seeing out there, I kind of think that we could move into a this all blows up kind of market. Like the S&P 500, let's say they're down again today and the rest of the week, like we're down on the week, and then maybe momentum kind of turns down. We could start to get another downtrend in the equity market. Now, not necessarily one that like leads to a recession or anything like that, but a down period. Because everybody's kind of saying, well, I don't know what else is Donald Trump going to do that moves the needle on the economy. And we feel like we know where the trajectory of things is going. But and it just kind of lead to stagnation. It always matters, if anything, we got to have the thing to point to point at, to act like we're doing something. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's kind of interesting on the economic outlook is that the Trump administration seems desperate to do something to improve the economic outlook for the lower quintile of Americans, and to do something about the cost of housing in particular. And they've floated a bunch of stuff. So right now, I think that we are in the trial balloon stage. Trump will mention something at a speech. They'll leak something to the media. That, you know, there's been all these things, stories over the past week, and it's kind of like a little small trickle. It's because they're leaking them one at a time so that they can then study the public reaction to them to see how people think about them. But the issue is that at the end of the day, we still want to do something to help reduce the cost of housing. And none of the proposals that he's putting out really moves the needles. It might sound really good to voters, but the reality is that the cost of housing is something that's been 15 years in the making. You can't just wave a magic wand and fix it all in a day. It's going to take some time, because the only real solution is to build houses. Now, if we actually got a policy in there that made a significant difference to our ability to build houses, then you might be surprised to see how quickly things change. But so it's not like it's an unsolvable problem. But right now, I'm not hearing anything that is basically, this is going to, we build X many houses right now, but when we make this change to the finances and all this sort of stuff, basically, I'm waiting for the policy that basically says, Seth, you would have to be an idiot to not get into home building right now. Maybe if we could build houses with better materials than foam and it. It's not that bad. You know what? It's been a long time since I've heard about the building houses with foam. There's a reason why they do it that way. Man, like the 10-year is moving into a hole right here. Even though there has been like a consistent trend in buying over the last like 30 minutes or so. So that's kind of bad. And that's something interesting that I think maybe we should note, is that when it's such a tight market, the market makers seem to react by it's a smaller move will get them to pull their liquidity. And it tends to be more sudden. It's like just all of a sudden there. Whereas when it's really high, they have to kind of transition into the hole. That's just been my observation, but I think it fits with what we know. Excuse me. Do you approve of the U.S. efforts to acquire Greenland? 17% say yes. 47% say no. That's a pretty lopsided poll, man. But I really don't think that he's pushing it because he thinks it's politically popular for him or anything. I think he's obsessed with it because he thinks that there is a real serious national security reason. We already have our own military base there. What will be accomplished geopolitically if we take over the island? The answer is that we can take natural resources. Then how does it make us better than Russia? Well, I don't think it's just that. Like, I think they want to build a lot more. Like, I don't think that a military base is enough. I think that he wants to dot Greenland with missile silos. Like, I've read that their government has been expressing openness to Chinese and Russian investment on that island. It's similar to Panama. China's civilian infrastructure, like airports, are Trojan horses. Let's move to Greenland, boys. Does it seem like a wonderful place to live? No, it doesn't. It sounds like a nightmare. You know what? Like, to be honest, I am a little bit like, how does anybody live north of like the middle of Idaho? All you people north, what would, I don't know what that would be in like in terms of latitude, but like there's just a certain amount north where, you know, if it is regularly below 0 during the day, why would you live there? It's just how did people, when Canada was founded, how did anybody survive those winters back? Like, I know we have all this technology and stuff now, but back then it was like, you know, it's below 0 for like 3 months or whatever. How did anybody survive? You know that, like, I saw this thing about global warming, and they were saying that like every large like boost in population growth in history was accompanied by a rise in global temperatures. That basically humans do better when the temperature is higher. More people die from freezing to death than they do from heat stroke. A war in the summer or like in the tropics is not as deadly as a war in the Arctic. Seaward's folly or stroke of genius. In hindsight, the Alaska purchase was a stroke of genius. Yes, it was. Well, you know, like again, with Greenland, the resources there, they do matter. But I really don't think that that's it, because we already have agreements and everything that I think give us access to the minerals. It's that they want to be able to build whatever they want all over the place, and they don't want China and Russia to have anything there. And I think you can only accomplish that by buying Greenland. Well, maybe you could accomplish that by telling Denmark, hey, tell the Chinese to F off. Like, don't let them do that. That's not okay. But I don't know. The way that things are going and everything, I don't trust Europe. Not that I don't trust them, like I think that they're going to backstab us or anything like that, but I'm just not convinced that they are competent enough to get the job done. You know? And I think that's what's going on in their head. But who knows? Maybe I'm dead wrong, and Donald Trump sees that poll and goes, well, I better not talk about acquiring Greenland publicly ever again. It could happen. What are you talking about, Andre? First time I've felt 16 in the last 4 years, and I'm hating every moment of it? Really? 57% of Americans believe the economy to be undergoing a recession per Gallup. Well, I do think that over the past year that some sectors of the economy essentially have been undergoing a recession. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you another thing. All in the investment has gone into AI. So when the AI bubble pops, and it will, like quite frankly, the amount of investment into data centers that they're making and like the RAM and everything, like these guys switching around to all of their RAM into making VRAM. Like you don't really have much of a moat when it comes to RAM. Granted, like the only moat is the production capacity, but like not the production capacity, but like there's this thing where you're gonna have like 4 nanometer processes, right? Then you have to build that out, and you have to invest an insane amount of money to get it. But RAM's not quite the same as chips. So there's like 3 RAM makers. You go and you make tons of RAM. You reserve all of that like capacity for the next few years. This basically is going to turn into like supply is too great. You're going to increase the supply too much. So like this thing is almost inevitable, in my opinion, that it runs into a serious issue. That serious issue doesn't necessarily have to be like a complete doomsday financial panic sort of a thing. But given the rest of the conditions in the economy, I think that the chances of a recession in the next 2 years because of that are quite high. And the economic factors still suggest that the probability of a recession in the next year is elevated. Came back to this whole thing that was like last year. Well, we need to start reducing interest rates or it will probably cause a recession. I think that they should do it in May, but they'll probably do it at the end of the year, and we'll see if that's enough. And at the moment, looking at it, we're only a few months from that, but it seems like we're okay. For right now, it seems like we're okay, and it was narrow enough that we've avoided a recession. But the risk isn't completely going away. Although there's certainly some contradictions in that, isn't there? Because if we're likely to go into recession over the next year, then we should start reducing interest rates now. That's not going to happen, right? That's why it's easy to believe that RAM prices won't come down again. They literally won't let it. If it came down to previous prices, they would probably be destroyed by sudden value loss. Well, I mean, if they shifted the demand back to, they should shifted their production back to making retail RAM, I think that it would probably be fine. We would probably go back to prices that we have right now. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy. We're forever punished for their BS even when they stop needing RAM. Well, it will probably be a long time for the prices to normalize. But I do think that we probably look back on the next year or two as like an unusual period for consumer computer hardware that we just hope they never make the same mistake again, sort of a thing. Existing home sales at the top of the hour? Yes. Not that the market has been too sensitive to existing home sales lately, so we'll see. But I think I'm gonna step out just a little early today since I'm realizing what time it is, and yeah, it was me needing. So I wonder, Paul, for you, because if you're gonna go and spend $2,000 on a good computer right now, why not just get a VPC like the one that I'm using right now and pay $50 a month instead? Pay $50 a month, and then 2 years from now, maybe computer hardware will be cheap. I don't know. You tell me what you think about that tomorrow. I'm gonna get going. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't know if we'll have data tomorrow, but hopefully Friday. So in the meantime, stay